President Trump signs the $2 trillion coronavirus relief bill. Maryland records its fifth coronavirus death. And Apple launches a COVID-19 screening app and website. Today on The Diamond K Show. Welcome back to The Diamond K Show here on Radio on Fire, episode 412 of the program. Radio on Fire provides the best in breaking news, entertainment, political stories that matter to you from an independent point of view. Of course, my name is Diamond K. Thank you for joining me. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for the coronavirus. This is the first leader of a major nation to contract COVID-19, but he insisted today that he remains in charge of the UK's response to the outbreak. Johnson, who's 55 years old, tested yesterday at the advice of the country's chief doctor after showing mild symptoms of a temperature and a persistent cough. Johnson is the highest political leader to have contracted the virus, which has affected more than 500,000 people around the world. Detroit's police chief, James Craig, has also tested positive for COVID-19. This was announced by the mayor. Police chief is 63 years old, and he will remain in quarantine while he fights this virus off. His assistant chief, James White, is going to oversee things during his departure. All in all, 39 officers have tested positive for COVID-19, and another 468 are on quarantine. This is in Detroit. In the last few days, 35 officers have come off of quarantine, while another 119 are in the process of being brought back. So before every shift in Detroit, officers' temperatures are being taken so they don't have any sick officers. Rapper Scarface announcing today that he has the coronavirus. The United States has become the world's epicenter for the coronavirus. What do we mean? America has the most cases, surpassing Italy and China in this process. A lot of damage has been done to the U.S. economy. According to the Department of Labor, the number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits shot up to 3.3 million since this outbreak. So what can be done to combat this? The economy is suffering. People physically, literally are suffering. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the relief package that the president just signed in as of this broadcast. You listen to the Diamond K Show here on Radio on Fire. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Diamond K Show here on Radio on Fire. Of course, on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok at the Diamond K Show. So today, it's been passed, this historic $2 trillion coronavirus relief package. This recovery thing is, it's something that shows that Congress can act and act swiftly when they are motivated. This enormous package approved by the Senate, then by the House of Representatives, now signed by President Trump, who, it's been it's been bipartisan. Now, of course, there's no love lost between the Democrats and the Republicans. We're very not that far removed from the impeachment trial, but it seems like it was years ago at this point, all that we've been through. The package was pushed across, interestingly, because frankly, all of the representatives are not there. So this was a voice vote. Some people were present. There was even a Republican who was trying to stall the package and blocked the whole thing. A guy out of Kentucky, a Republican, Thomas Massey, he was pretty much slammed by everybody, even the president slamming him. So nothing that he could do, publicity stunt or not, talking about Massey, it did not work. The willingness of both sides to pass this and accept a voice vote, meaning that people were voting that were not physically in DC, reflected this heavy pressure that Congress is facing in light of the coronavirus. The economy is hurting. They had to move quickly, aggressively, and decisively to counter this devastating impact. So what is this? What is this bill going to do? What is $1,200 or $2,400? What is that money going to do? It's not really a recovery package from the standpoint of stimulating the economy. More so, it's going to give the visual, give the effect, simulate an actual economy, sustain things a little bit. It's not going to totally jack and get things into progress. Moreover, it's just going to keep us in a holding pattern until things hopefully can move forward, because the amount of money that individuals are receiving, not that much. But when you look at some of these great businesses, for some reason, Boeing and the hotel industry and the travel industry, they're going to be getting a lot of money. But the average American, not so much. Hopefully, the markets have tanked, businesses have shuttered. Some small businesses will never come back. Massive layoffs all over the country. Jobless claims, as I said, hitting almost 3.3 million last week. This massive spike has brought applicants for unemployment. The pressure on our lawmakers is significant, and I just hope that this enormous package and all of the zeros behind the money, I hope that really is something that the American people get and businesses get. Let's take a quick break, come back with more of the show after this. Baltimore police are asking for the public's help as they search for a woman who assaulted a 68-year-old patient last year. Now, August 20th of 2019, police say that Asia Woodward, who's 39 years old, is working as an assisted living caregiver in the 1500 block of Moreland Avenue, got into an argument with a 68-year-old patient, and a fight ensued. Woodward punched, kicked, choked, and assaulted this elderly man, leaving him visible injuries, and he was hospitalized as a result of this beating. Woodward is wanted for the arrest, and a description of her: she's 5'2", 175 pounds, and last known to be living on the Homestead Street, 800 block of Homestead Street, according to police. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan and the state education leaders are trying to figure out how they're going to handle the remaining school year amid the COVID-19 crisis and the damage that is done on the school system. They're even thinking about ideas for giving students a pass or fail grade for the fourth quarter based on what they've done in the first three quarters, right? That is one thing. They're also trying to address the broadband issues and giving students laptops, tablets, and devices such. Of course, as we reported, schools in Maryland currently are closed until April the 24th, an additional 4 weeks. That could extend. Students may not go back to school. Another critical thing that COVID-19, the coronavirus, has affected is voting. We'll come back from the break we are going to be joined by a Baltimore mayoral candidate who has been affected by the postponement of the primary election here in Maryland. You listen to the Don McKay Show, Radio on Fire. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this. Today, Apple launched a website and a new app dedicated to screening COVID-19. The resource offers an online screening tool, information about the disease, and some guidance on when to seek testing or emergency care. The tech giant developed the site and app in collaboration with the CDC, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the White House. According to TheVerge.com, the screening tool will ask you questions about your symptoms, your recent travel, and contact you may have had with people who have been exposed to the virus. After completing the screening process, you will be taken to a page that will recommend you next steps and also suggest whether you should get tested for COVID-19. Apple does want to point out that this screening tool does not replace instructions from a healthcare provider or guidance from state or local health authorities. You can access this by going to apple.com/COVID-19. Welcome back to the Don McKay Show here on Radio on Fire. By emergency proclamation, Governor Hogan has postponed the 2020 primary here in Maryland. Included on that ballot will be the mayor of Baltimore City, and I am joined for the interview by Baltimore mayoral candidate Ricky Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn, how you doing?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for having me on today. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. So much to talk about with regards to all that's going on in the world, in the country and in the world. So you were on track to compete in an election that was going to take place on April the 28th. How has this postponement affected your team?
You know, I'm going to be very optimistic. It hasn't really impacted or affected us much. I believe if you already have boots on the ground, boots in the street, you're already connected to the neighborhoods in Baltimore City and the communities in Baltimore City. The only thing it stops us from doing is knocking on the door versus now we pick up the phone and we call folks. We cannot let something like this coronavirus not only stop government and stop love in the city of Baltimore, but also across our nation. We got to get in, we got to be proactive now. We got to make sure that we are making sure that we are providing resources out there to individuals and communities. And we got to make sure that we stay connected to people. We can't use this time to just go crawl up in a knot in a ball and say, hey, the work ends or the work stops or is on pause right now.
Right. No, I agree with that. As far as crisis management and the such, how important is the managerial background that you have to an event like this?
It's it's very crucial when you talk about leadership. In my business, we have 121 restaurants and we're spread out in 8 different states. Part of the leadership of a mayor is not only being reactive, but being proactive. We have to have different resources, different systems in place. We have to make sure that we're educating the public and educating Baltimore City residents on if a crisis do come up. We shouldn't be getting into the game time coming up with a playbook. But, that's here or there. Now that we're here, what do we do? Leadership or crisis management is very important. We have to make sure that we not only have the resources, but we're educating Baltimore residents where to go to get the resources. And that's where we have miscommunication coming from our city government to the residents of Baltimore. We also have to make sure that it's a holistic approach. And when you talk about unity, everyone's included. We still have not had a plan about the homelessness or the homeless individuals in the city of Baltimore. What do we do? How do we assist them? Where do they go? Part of it is not only where do they go, but we need to come outside of City Hall and go to them. That's when you talk about effective leadership. We got to stop waiting on folks to come to us, and we have to go to them. That's part of the job and responsibility of an elected official, and that's under my administration what we would do.
All right, so I understand that you are aiming for this position. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you grade Mayor Young as far as his reaction to the coronavirus in our city?
I would, and I do know the mayor, but respectfully, I would say at a 3. And the reason why I give him the 3 is because I believe he has a good heart. I'm not going to take that away from him. I believe he has a great heart. He's very passionate. But the difference of the mayor, and I want to put it in perspective, the mayor has not been a manager. He was a legislator. And a lot of folks don't understand the difference between the president of city council and city council members and the office of the mayor. The office of the mayor is not a legislator. They're a manager. They're someone that can manage crises, can manage different agencies, supposed to be transparent, can hold folks accountable. The mayor doesn't have that background. And the reason why I say that and I give him a 3 is because now that this has come to the table, how do we address it? How do we approach it? As the mayor of Baltimore City, I would actually mandate a 14-day shutdown. I would tell businesses they cannot open. I would make sure that we allocate a hospital and a hotel or some lodging for our first responders. I would make sure that it's secure. I would make sure that it's safe for them to go and sleep and house in. And I would actually ask them for that commitment. I would say for the next 14 days, we can't let you go home, but we've already secured housing and lodging for you. We got food supplies for you. It's going to be on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor of this hotel. So after you get off shift, this is where you would go. But I would put the city on a 14-day lockdown. It's a shame that we got to continue to play with folks' lives at the risk of politics when we got kids out here and so big. And as a business owner, a lot of people probably will find that very shocking to say a business owner wants to close business down. First and foremost, I'm about folks' health and safety for anything. It doesn't make sense, and I won't be able to sleep at night knowing that I made $1 at putting someone at risk. So, But the mayor does have that power. He just needs to execute.
Yeah. As far as that goes, and taking it a little bit further, what about Governor Hogan? What do you rate his response to this crisis?
I would rate his response a little higher. I would probably give the governor a 5 or 6 rating. I like the fact that he actually has had conversations with business owners. He has had conversations and dialogue with different city agencies and the different county executives as well as, of course, our mayor here of Baltimore City. I do like the fact that today he reached out for federal assistance. As you know, we got special funding coming from the current administration. So I like the fact that he is listening, and that's the whole key. Part of leadership, and when you call it versus, or when you put it in perspective to servant leadership, is understanding that you may not have all the answers, but understanding that you're willing to go to the table with folks that can assist you and bring resources and bring answers to it. And I think that's somewhat of what the governor is trying to do. I believe he's following suit with the New York governor. I know they're very good allies and very good friends. So I'm hoping that our current mayor would follow suit behind Keisha Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta, and make sure that he's protecting, he understands that he has to protect the citizens of Baltimore City, and not just the citizens of Baltimore, but how many folks in Baltimore, they go outside of the city limits, we got folks coming in, whatever the case may be, but understanding that he can actually help assist this with making sure that he just get on the news, or he get an ink pen and he just, hey, make an executive order, this is what we're gonna do. So I'm hoping he's listening. And I'm hoping that he pick up the phone and give me a call, and give many of us a call, and we'll do this together. It's not about politics. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about making sure that we protect our families in the streets of Baltimore City.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some of the town halls before this crisis hit, you were really making had some really big standout moments. Did any of your opponents develop any animosity towards you? You had some really scene-stealing moments.
I would say probably not. One thing about Ricky Vaughn is, prior to this election, I was out there in the community. I was out there in the streets. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of them on a personal level. As many would see, I don't really throw shade, right? I don't. It's not personal attacks. I look at it, and I call, folks say I'm a businessman. I look at it as business. I'm gonna always advocate for what's right. Period. If that costs me a couple of dollars, so be it. But I think my colleagues would chime in and say they have respect for me, because I've always stood by what I said. I was one of the individuals that called for the resignation of many of our elected officials that I think have broken the mistrust with residents of Baltimore City. I was under fire behind that. I was under fire about my comment around the police commissioner. I was under fire around my comment around John Pratt. I was under fire around my comment around the superintendent or the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools. But I'm going to continue to stand by that, because, again, it's not about Ricky Vaughn. It's about what's right for our children, our grandchildren, and their children. And that's what I'm going to continue to fight and advocate for.
Absolutely. You mentioned Joanne Pratt, and, it seems like situation after situation after situation that really just gnaws away at the trust that the citizens have in our elected officials. What would a Ricky Vaughn administration do to try to rebuild some of this trust?
Well, a great question. Part of it is transparency. Everyone throws that word around like, it's water and a piece of bread, right? Oh, we're going to do transparency. We're going to do transparency. There's a difference about talking about transparency and actually having transparency and executing on transparency. And that's what I've done as a business owner in my restaurants and my company. I mean, it's amazing how I can go to one of my KFC restaurants and they recognize who I am. And you got this guy who owns restaurants in multiple states. One part about that is because I'm always accessible and available to my employees. They all have my cell phone number. Believe me, it rings and go off the hook 24/7. I can't always respond back to them, but that's the first part about transparency, is making sure that you're available as a mayor, to your constituents, but as a business owner, to your employees. Right. It doesn't matter if that employee is a manager or if that employee is a 16-year-old cashier at the KFC register. You want to make sure that you're available to listen to their concerns and to address their concerns. Transparency under my administration will be making sure that, I always use this scenario. How many mayoral candidates and how many actual mayors get into office and all of a sudden create amnesia? We go out and we rally grassroots organizations and community associations for votes and to put yard signs out. But once elected as a mayor, why don't none of those organizations sit on the cabinet of the mayor's office? So from a transparency standpoint, the first thing I would do is appoint individuals from neighborhood associations and grassroots organizations to be part of the City Hall administration, because that way now everyone has a seat at the table, everyone has a voice at the table, and we're making sure that you're holding me accountable and vice versa, I'm holding you accountable.
Right. And that's something that I often hear people say, you know, you come around when you need my vote, but then after you get my vote, we don't hear from you anymore.
Yes.
So, that's a big
you know, it's and you know, the sad part about it, and this is where I'm real extremely passionate about, is our children and youth, our young adults. We always talk about bringing them to the table, but when we bring them to the table, we push them back, and we say, hey, you in timeout, you in a quiet zone. So we don't even let them have a voice at the table. But every campaign and every mayor always have young folks out there taking pictures with them and passing out yard signs and literature. Why don't we have a mayor that actually employ some young folks in City Hall? We don't have anyone under the age of 18 employed at City Hall. Under my administration, we will have a youth mayor in Baltimore City that will actually be on the payroll. The youth mayor responsibility will be part of he or she responsibility, making sure they become an advocate and an ally when it comes to our children and youth in the city of Baltimore. This also allows young folks to learn about city government, to learn about state government, national government, to where they can really gain an interest and also learn kind of the difference between legislating and managing, how to propose a bill, how to co-sponsor a bill. But yet we continue to tell them we want them to be part of the future, but yet we don't give them the opportunity. So that's one thing I would definitely do under my administration. I've already started interviewing for a youth mayor. I have some great candidates. So I'm excited and looking forward to that.
Right, that is wonderful. It's wonderful. So you still have more campaigning to do. There's more time to go out and get people acquainted with you and your style, which is different from what they're used to. You know, it's different, and I definitely applaud you and the vision that you have. How can people support your campaign?
I appreciate it. Again, thank you for having me on today. I even wore some glasses today. Try to look a little intelligent. They can go to rickyvaughn.com. That's Ricky, RIKKI, Vaughn, which is BAUGHN.com. They can call our campaign office at 443-515-9100, or they can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. But I'm not only asking for their vote, their prayers, and their support, but also your ideas. Again, it's not Ricky Vaughn going to City Hall, it's us going to City Hall. It's Baltimore City going to City Hall. It's about time that the people actually are now part of the governing of our city and of our different agencies. So I would love to get feedback from your viewers on what we can do together to make Baltimore a better place for all, not two Baltimores, but one Baltimore, and how we can repair, rebuild, and replenish our city.
Well, that's good. Well said. Again, we've been speaking to Baltimore mayoral candidate Ricky Vaughn. Thank you so much for your time. Much continued success and health and blessings to you and your family.
Likewise, the same to you, and thank you again for all that you're doing.